Hey you guys, it's Pete Thorn. Welcome to the studio. Hey, you heard this thing on all the guitar parts on the track at the beginning of the video. This is the TX Watt tube hybrid guitar amplifier. So that's right, this thing's a full-fledged guitar amp. You can see I've got a speaker cable coming out of it here. This is running into my cab in the other room. It's mic'd up, and that's how I recorded all those guitar parts on the song at the beginning of the video. So what's going on with this thing? Well, it's a full-on tube and analog front end. There's two 12AX7s in there, and you've got a full set of controls there: preamp, gain, tone controls, master volume, all that good stuff, and a bunch of voicing switches. And then all that analog front end stuff is mated to a Class D 100-watt power amp. So Class D, that's how they can keep it nice and light. It might even fit on your pedal board if your pedal board is fairly big. Now, what's going on with this company is they make full-on tube guitar amplifier heads and combos, EL34s, 6L6s, all that good stuff. And in those big amps, what they've got going is a really neat thing: parallel signal path running all the way through the preamp that has American and British style circuits. So what you can do is at each stage along the way in the amplifier, you can switch and pick between an American style, say, gain voicing, or a British style gain voicing, American style mid-range controls or British style mid-range controls, and kind of copy those circuits. So you can kind of end up with your own combination of things if you want. You could use some, sort of American stages and some British stages if you want to, or you could have the whole thing be sort of, British style circuit all the way through, or American style circuit all the way through. So they've included that in this. Basically what you've got is these mini toggles that go between red and blue when you switch them. So this one is labeled gain type, so you can go from an American gain type to a British gain type. That's blue to red. You got bass here, that'll go from an American style bass control to a British style. And basically with each of these stages here, two different mid-range stages as well, you can flip them up and get different sounds. So I did that on the song at the beginning of the video using, sort of the non-standard settings, like basically a British style gain but with American style bass control, that kind of thing. And it worked really well in practice. So I recorded a bunch of different parts, used some different gain levels, did some clean stuff on my Strat, had the gain control cranked for the lead parts and got as much gain out of it as I could. It's not like a metal machine, I wouldn't say, but it'll definitely get into distorted classic rock Marshall style voicing as far as the gain sound goes, with lots of sustain and stuff. I didn't use any overdrive pedals on that stuff at the beginning of the video. All the lead guitars were just the gain coming out of this box. I want to play a little bit more through it now and solo some of those parts from the song at the beginning of the video outside of the mix, so you can hear those, and you should get a pretty good idea of the tones that this thing makes, I think, by the end of this video. So let's get to it. It is the TX Watt tube hybrid guitar amp. Alright, so I just cut the first part in this track at the beginning of the video, and I'm essentially going for kind of just like a raw Marshall-y sound right now, but with the way that I've got the switches set, I've got the gain type set in the red mode, which is the British mode. The bass I've got switched up, however, so blue mode, and then mid 1 here I've got switched up blue mode, mid 2 in the red mode. So let me just flip those switches for you for a second here so you can hear what difference all these switches make. Biggest is going to be the gain. Different type of gain architecture when you go between red and blue. And then let's see here, when I flip the bass, when you hear it go from blue to red, what you're going to hear is like it gets a little bit thinner. You can see why when I move this, why I use that big vise on my desk for most of my pedal videos, because the pedal moves around when so that's where the vise comes in handy. This mid switch right here, let's check that out. Similar, you know, where it's just like different ways to kind of thin out or fatten up the sound, make it a little bit more cutting, articulate, or a little fatter. So let's try this last switch. And I'm going to leave that one down in the red position. So it's just different ways to voice the amp, really. Now what I'm going to do is just vary up this gain switch right here. This one is a switch that allows you to get like 4 different levels of overdrive on a stepped switch. And that's the position I had it in the kind of the third all the way to the top. And I'm running the preamp control here on about 230. So it's up quite high. So I'll just back it down. Now if I turn it, let's say almost all the way up, and I bring the gain switch to the gain switch is in the highest position. Okay, yeah, so I've got it in the number 4 position right now with the preamp almost all the way up. So this is getting close to maximum gain here. Okay, so that sounds cool. It's maybe getting a little bit loose, but you can tighten it up easily by flipping this bass switch down, speak English, Peter, and then switching the mid switch down here. It'll get a little bit leaner and a little tighter. What I'm doing right now is I'm turning off some of the effects that I had going, because I ran a few pedals in front just like you would with a clean amp, really. I've got a Surf Rider here from Solid Gold FX doing some spring reverb, really nice spring reverb pedal, and I had my woodshed compressor going too and a bit of tremolo, but I just turned all that stuff off. So without any of that stuff, with this particular setting, this is what it sounds like right now. Kind of like that. And it's cool. It's just a kind of like, you know, right on the edge of breakup, kind of Fendery clean, I guess. Now, I set the bass switch in the lower position, the red position, for a little less bass, because I found I had plenty when I just kind of had the tone controls set the way that I wanted them. And it seemed to help actually maybe give me a little bit more headroom. Maybe because it's not pushing so much low end through the preamp. Maybe that clips the preamp a little bit earlier or something. So I set it in the red position. But if I put it in the other position, well, yeah, it gets substantially louder, doesn't it, when I turn that on? I see. So that's pumping up some gain through the pre. So that worked well. To hit that in the lower position gave me a little bit cleaner sound, a little more headroom. Let me hear what happens with the mids. Drop my pick. Yeah, similar. You know, when you're leaning out the preamp a little bit, maybe it's just not pushing quite as much gain. That seems to be what's happening. Now, I've got the gain control, like the 4-position step switch, in the lowest setting right now, and I got the preamp volume on about 10 o'clock. So, you know, if you were setting up a deluxe reverb, it would be kind of similar. I guess around 3 or 4 it starts breaking up or something if you hit it hard. Kind of like a bright, crunchy, you know, slightly gnarly Fender at that point. So I'll just turn that back down a little bit. Okay, and now I'm going to show you what happens when I turn on all the effects that I had on. So let's hit the compressor. And then a little bit of tremolo. It's a harmonic tremolo, I think, that I got going there on my Mobius. And then I'll hit the spring reverb. Thanks for watching my video on the TX Watt Tube Hybrid Guitar Amp. This is a really useful piece of gear, I think. I mean, it's small enough to pop in a backpack. I should mention, it'll work kind of anywhere in the world. It'll work at like 110 power or 220 or 240 power. There's just a switch on the back to switch up the voltage. So it's handy if you're doing gigs overseas or anything like that, or sometimes in the US. It'll be, you know, a great companion for that. And it's small enough, really, like I say, to fit in your suitcase or a backpack. So this could be the centerpiece of a pretty cool and compact guitar rig if you want to kind of go the portable amp route and you're cool with an analog tube front end and Class D style power amp. Full set of EQ controls there and all those cool switches that allow you to switch up the voicings of the gain style, the mids, the bass, so you get a bunch of different sounds. You can check it out further at the link that you see there in the video description below. Check it out at the TX Watt website. And hey, please hit subscribe if you haven't. Hit the little bell beside the subscribe and you'll get an alert every time I put out a new video. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'm Pete Thorn. Take care. Over and out.